So we'll start by reviewing how to solve a regular equation, right? Not a rational one. If it's a rational equation, that means the equation has fractions, right? Has variable in the denominator, like the one you see at the bottom, okay? We're on page 46. So we'll start by reviewing how to solve the one that's not rational. So when you solve, it means to find the value of x. Okay, it's not simplifying. Simplifying just making it look shorter, not solving for x. Okay, so in the equation, it will have equal sign. Okay, has equal sign. Okay, so if it's not equation, if it's just simplifying, you don't see equal signs. Okay, that's a difference. So for the first one here, right, how do we begin solving this one? Brandon? Brandon, solve this one.
You expand first.
Yeah, okay. So can you tell me what to write, the first line?
6x plus 2 equals 2x plus 7.
Okay. And then you just start by moving things around, move all the x to one side and then all the number to the other side, right? So once it crosses over to the other side, you need to change the sign. So 2x goes to the left, right? Positive will become negative, so it'll become minus 2x. And then on the left side, the positive 2 will move to the right, so plus 2 will become minus 2. Right? This should be something you already know, right? From grade 8, 9, 10. And then you simplify, you get 5x equals to 5. So x equal to 1, right? So this is the
Jason,
answer. Yeah,
isn't 6x take away 2x 4x?
that's correct. Okay, thank you. You are the only one awake, huh? Okay, so 4x equal to 5, so that will be 5 over 4. Okay. Thank you. And then if you want to check answer, then you can plug the 5 over 4 back into the question, right? 5 over 4, I think it's easier to use decimal to check, okay? This is like 1.25. Okay, so we're gonna check x equal to 1.25. So if we plug it in, right, it will be 3 times 1.25 equal 2 times 1.25 plus 7. So eventually, right, if you simplify both sides, right, you're not moving things around, then you should get both sides equal each other. Okay, so left side equals the right side, the number, okay? You follow the order of operation. If at the end, left side doesn't equal to the right side, that means the answer that you got is not correct. Okay, so this is a quick review of how to solve. So if you know how to solve this kind of equation, then if somehow I can make rational equation look like the regular one, then you should have no problem solving it, right? Okay, so that's our goal. We'll try to make each of the questions become something we already know, okay? Then that's how you solve rational equation. So to do that, right, you need to borrow the idea what we learned last time, common denominator. Okay, to find common denominator, the key sentence is here. You want to make sure it includes, right here. Okay. Oh. Okay, it got crashed. Okay, give me 1 sec. All right, so to get the common denominator, you want to make sure it includes all the factors. Right, so even though the denominator has 3 parts, but we only need 2, right? Because 2 is enough to cover all the factors. So let's look at the question we want to do here. Okay, so for this one, the denominator, we have x, and then 3 is same as 3 over 1, and then x minus 1, right? So common denominator is only x minus 1. So to make the equation, rational equation look like the regular one means we don't need any denominator, right? So to get rid of the denominator, we just multiply both sides with common denominator. Okay, so this is the only thing you need to do, right, to make the denominator go away. So I'm gonna just copy the question again. So the left side will multiply with x minus 1, right, which is our common denominator. And then the right side will do the same, x minus 1. Okay, so the x minus 1 that we multiply with is in the numerator. So if you like, you can put it over 1. Okay, any questions so far? Right, first thing, we get a common denominator, and then we multiply both sides with that, right? And let's see what will that do to the equation now. Well, look at the right side. Because the denominator and the numerator are the same, right? So we can reduce, right? Remember, when we multiply, we can reduce numerator and denominator if they are the same factor. Okay, so then the right side, we are only left with 4. Okay, now for the left side, because in the question we have 2 parts, right? 2 terms. So there's an adding, so 2 terms. So when you are multiplying, you need to distribute. Okay, so suppose you don't see the plus 3 right now. So when you multiply with the first one, the x minus 1 will cancel with the x minus 1. Right, just like the same way it cancels on the right side. So you will be left with 2. Okay, so now let's erase the green. So now if you multiply with the 3, x minus 1 times 3, there's nothing to cancel out in the denominator, right? Because 3 doesn't have a denominator. So x minus 1 just have to stay there. So the original question, which has denominator, after multiplying by common denominator, it becomes something like we know how to do, right, above. Okay, so after that, you just do the regular solving, right? Expand, right? Combine like terms, and then continue to solve. Okay, so I'll let you take over from here and raise your hand when you reach the final answer. Okay. Let me know if there's any step that you're not clear, like how the denominator disappears. So please raise your hand when you find the x. I believe the answer should be a fraction as well. Okay, Aaron, what do you have?
5/3.
5/3, okay. And Colin, how about you?
Same thing.
Same thing, okay. Okay, Eric and Nathan, do you have any question how to solve the last step?
No, it's not letting me raise my hand.
Oh, okay, that's a problem then. Can you try? Yeah, you've raised your hand before, right? So how about Eric? Do you have question about solving it? Yeah, okay,
No, I forgot to raise my hand.
okay. Right, and then not only that we solve the answer, right? It also, don't forget, you have to state the restriction. Okay, whenever you get variable in denominator, you have to find restrictions. And restriction is not always 0, okay? It depends on the question. As I saw in the homework, right? Some of you just put down x cannot be 0 for all the restriction. You have to look at the question, right? So you look at the denominator. In the denominator, you see x minus 1. So x minus 1 cannot be 0. It's the denominator cannot be 0, not the x cannot be 0. And then from there, you solve for x, so x cannot be 1. And then you want to double check, right? You find the answer there, and you got the restriction there. You want to make sure your restriction is not the same as the answer you got. Okay, I'll repeat that one more time. The restriction cannot be the same as the answer you found. Okay, because if it's the same, that means you cannot use it, right? Restriction means it's a number you cannot have as your answer. Okay, so it's like contradiction. All right, so let's look at next one. Any question about first one? Okay, so every equation you solve it the same way. First thing, what do we do first? Brennan, what do we do first?
Multiply by a common denominator.
Yeah, okay, so first thing we need to get a common denominator. So Nathan, what's the common denominator for this one?
I don't really know because it would just be like I don't know, Jason.
Okay, how many fractions do you see?
3.
Okay, what's the denominator for the first one?
C take away 1.
Yeah, so we would need that. C take away 1. Common denominator means it needs to include all the denominator that you see.
And
Okay.
would it just be C take away 1, C plus 2?
Yeah, C plus 2. Right? So inside this common denominator, you can see the denominator for each fraction. Then we call that a common denominator. Okay, Nathan?
I was just confused about that, sorry.
For example, this one, okay? Look at this one. 1 over 3 plus 2, let me use a different one. 5 over 6. What's the common denominator? Nathan?
6.
Okay, why does 6 work?
3 can go into 6.
Yeah, or you can think of that the 6 has 2 times 3, right? So inside the 2 times 3, you can see the 3. You can also see the 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's the meaning of common denominator. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's the same idea what you learned before in grade 8. We just apply it to variable. Okay, it's the same thing. So we're gonna multiply both sides with a common denominator. Okay. This is only the second question, so I'm gonna write it slowly. Okay. I'm gonna copy it one more time. And then right side, we will multiply with the common denominator we found. If you like, you can write it as over 1. Okay. Or you can just remember it's in the numerator. And then on the left side, it has 2 terms. Right? Terms are separated by subtraction or adding. So also multiply with the common denominator. Okay, you may think that this is a lot to write, okay? So, but then this is only second one, so that's why I write it down, all the details. Starting next one, I'll show you how you can shorten some work, all right? Let's start with the right side. because right side only has one fraction, right? So what can we cancel out on the right side, Colin?
C plus 2.
Yeah, so C plus 2 cancels out, right? So we just write down what's left. So no more denominator, that's our goal. Okay, and then on the left side is a little bit more work. You have two fractions on the left side. So when you multiply, you need to multiply one at a time. When you multiply with the first fraction, what cancels out? You sure?
C minus 1.
Yeah, C minus 1 will be gone, right? So you will be left with just C plus 2 and the 4, right? So we'll write that down. Okay, and then now we have to multiply the second fraction. So remember the outside, you should still keep both of them, okay? So we go back to the beginning again. Okay, so you take the common denominator, now we do the second expanding, right? Second multiplying. So what cancels out when you multiply with the second fraction? Nathan?
The C plus 2.
Yeah, so C plus 2 will cancel out. So you'll be left with a C minus 1, okay? So even though you cancel out the C minus 1 for the first one, it doesn't mean it's gone forever, right? Because you're using the same common denominator to multiply both of the fraction. All right, so for the second one, it will be minus 4 times C minus 1. Okay? So now you can see that the equation no longer has fraction there, right? No longer has denominator. So it becomes something you know how to solve. Just be careful when you expand in the middle, right? You need to take negative 4 to multiply in. So same thing, I'll let you take care of this. And when you finish, you can raise your hand, okay? I'm gonna lower the hands, okay? Yeah, raise your hand when you got the X. This one is a little bit different. Different from the one on the left side, right? Because when you multiply the right side, you get like C squared, right? C times C, C squared minus C, okay? So you get something different. You need to know what you learned before, how to solve something with a square, okay? So you can take your time, look back to your book 1. Okay, how do we solve an equation that has a square? Okay, does anyone have trouble solving this one? Okay, so let's simplify a little bit, okay? And then see what we get. On the left side, we get 4C plus 8, right? 4C plus 8. And then this part expand, it brings in -4. So -4c plus 4. Right side is c squared minus c. So because this equation has square inside, it's different from the left side, right? Left side just isolate x. This side has c squared, it also has c. We call this kind of equation what? What kind of equation do we call this, Eric? Do you remember? What do we call this kind of equation? Eric, are you there? Eric. Can you
Sorry,
hear-
my audio is a bit weird right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear my question?
Is it like solve the thing?
Yeah, it's solved the thing. Okay. My question is, what kind of equation is this one?
Is it a quadratic equation?
Yeah, quadratic equation. Very good. Okay, quadratic equation. And Aaron, how do we solve a quadratic equation?
There's 5 ways.
Oh, very good. Okay, which 5? Enlighten us.
So there's the difference of squares.
Huh? Difference of square. That's factoring. You're thinking about factoring.
Oh, wait, no.
Quadratic equation.
There's that cross multiply one.
That's also factoring. You're thinking about how to factor point.
No.
Oh
Wait,
yeah. Oh, cross multiply. Yeah. Yes. Okay. First one GCF, right? Second one cross multiply. Yeah, you're right. Okay. In the quadratic equation also has cross multiply. And do you remember the third one?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
Wait, squares is like factoring, right?
Yeah, first two method is try to factor, right? But what if it's not factorable? What if there's only one variable? Remember? Use this opportunity to review all the methods. Does anyone remember what's the third method?
Grouping.
That's
Isolate
factoring.
variable.
Isolate variable. Okay, you guys have to look back at the quadratic equation chapter, not the factoring. Okay, isolate variable. I know it's been a while, right? Because this quadratic equation is, I think, was the second topic we learned in a year. Isolate variable means in the whole equation only has one x, right? Then you can isolate that. How about the fourth one? Anyone?
It's complete squares, yeah.
Yes, very good. Complete square. And you only use that if the question asks you to do that, okay? Because it's really long, right? Takes a long time. And then last one.
Quadratic form.
Yeah, quadratic formula. Okay, so these are the methods to solve a quadratic equation. You will recognize it's a quadratic equation if the equation has square on the variable. Okay, so if you want to review, right, refresh your memory of how to solve, you go back to book 1. It's in book 1, quadratic equation. Okay, so we need to first move everything to one side, make it equal to 0. I'm going to move everything to the right side, okay, and then make the left side 0 because that way the c squared stays positive, okay? So it makes it easier to try to factor. So c squared on the right side. 4c and minus 4c cancels out, right? 8 plus 4, that's 12. So that will be minus 12. Okay, so this is a simplified quadratic equation. And how do we continue from here, Nathan?
Do you just like move the 12 over to the other side?
You are trying to isolate?
Yeah.
Okay, you only use isolate, the third method, if you only see one variable,
Oh,
one
okay.
letter. But now you have c squared, you also have c. You cannot isolate.
Do you just leave it like that then?
You have to try other method. You cannot leave it like that, right? It's not the answer yet.
I don't know what you would do then.
When you see 3 terms, what do you think your instinct tell you to do?
Cross factor.
Yeah, you try to do the cross multiplying, the factor, right? So have you factored it yet? Have you factored yet?
No, I haven't factored it yet.
Wait, let me know when you found it. Got it?
C take away 4 and C plus 3.
Okay, C take away 4, C plus 3. And what should we do next, Colin?
And you just find out what C is, right? C
Yeah.
equals 4 and negative 3.
Yeah, okay, so you solve each bracket. You make each bracket equal to 0. Right, this is a review, okay? And then from each one, you find out what C could be, right? C could be 4, C could be negative 3, okay? So those two are our answers. Okay, are we done? Aaron, are we finished?
No.
What else do we need to do? Huh?
We
What'd you say? What else is missing?
need to find like the things that cannot eat.
Yeah, so we call that the restrictions, okay? We need to find out what the restriction is. So Brendan, what is the restriction for this one?
1 and negative 2.
1 and negative 2.
1 and negative 2, yeah. Okay, so you look at the denominator, okay? You have C minus 1, C plus 2, C plus 2. So you want to make sure those cannot be 0, right? So C cannot be 1, cannot be negative 2. And then you double check, right? Is it the same as your answer? Okay, so they are not the same, then it's okay. Then you can keep the answer, okay? So both the solution that you found and the restriction, they are part of the answer. If one of them or two of them are the same as the restriction, right, then you have to reject. For example, if your restriction is 4, C cannot be 4, but then your answer is 4, then you have to reject your answer, okay? Then C equal to 4, you cannot use it as your answer. You just cross it out, okay? Then your answer will be only C equal to negative 3. Okay, later we'll have questions like that, okay? The restriction at the end rejects the answer that you found, okay? Any questions? So all the equation, you solve it the same way. Get a common denominator and multiply both sides and make sure you cancel it out properly, okay? So I'm gonna pick, we won't be able to do all the question, we just pick several of them. Let me see, let me see which one to do. Okay, so let's say we will start with question A, and I will also show you how to do it a little bit faster, okay? So question A, this one. So just like before, right, we want to get common denominator, but common denominator, we don't always just take all the denominator and put it together, right? We want to get the lowest common denominator. And to do that, we need to factor first, okay? So first, you factor. Okay, so which part of the fraction can be factored? You're sure? Which part can we factor?
2.
2? Which 2?
What? The
Which-
2x minus.
Yeah, 2x minus 2. Okay, so 2x minus 2, we can take out GCF, right? So factor the 2 out, x minus 2, x minus 1. Okay, so now the question look like that, right? Whenever possible, you factor it. If it's not factorable like before, like the last question, you just start with finding common denominator, okay? Our common denominator for this one should be what? Eric, what's the common denominator for this?
I think it's 2x minus 1.
2 bracket x minus 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so inside this, right, we can see the x minus 1. We can also see the 2x minus 1. Okay, so it's the lowest. So you don't need 2 brackets of x minus 1. Okay. So once we have that, we'll multiply both sides by common denominator. So to save a little bit of writing, I'm gonna just multiply like this. I'll draw a big square bracket. Okay. And then on the right side, I write down 2x minus 1. Okay, instead of writing on both sides, right? And this save a little bit of work. And then this thing is going to multiply each of the fraction. Okay, we'll multiply one at a time. When we multiply the left side, what canceled out? Aaron?
The x minus 1.
Okay, then what will be left?
The 2.
So it'll be 2 times 2. Okay, now for the right side, what happens after I multiply? Brennan?
No, it's 2, right? 1 times 2. Wait, no, it's just 1. Just 1.
Yeah, everything cancels out, right? Denominator, numerator are exactly the same. So everything canceled out. So you're left with 1. So weird, right? After I multiply both sides, the x disappear. There's no more x. So you get 4 on the left, 1 on the right side. What does that mean then? Does anybody know? What's going on? What does it mean? What should we do now? Surrender? Anyone? Any suggestion? What does that mean? We get 4 equal to 1. Colin, what do you think?
No solution.
No solution. Yeah, 4 cannot equal to 1. So what is saying that it doesn't matter because the x disappear, right? So it doesn't matter what x you sub it in. They will disappear. And then you'll end up with left side never gonna equal to the right side. Okay, it doesn't matter what x you use in the equation. Okay, whatever you plug it in, x, the left side and right side will never equal each other. So it's impossible to find an x that work. Okay, so when you get something like that, then you just say no solutions. But what if the left side and right side equal, right? Let's say you end up with 4 equal to 4. So that's true, right? This one is false, right? False means no solution. If it's true, okay, you can write it on the right side. If it's true, if you get something with 2 sides are the same number, then you will say infinite solution. Infinite means there are many answers, okay? There are infinite number of answers, which means it doesn't matter what x you pick, it's always gonna make both sides equal each other. Okay, so this case it's a false, so your answer is just no solution. Okay, this is a very special scenario. Okay, let's look at, I'll let you try an easier one first. Okay, question C. Okay, we're gonna do C and D and F. Okay, we'll start with C first. This one, it doesn't have any variable in the denominator, right? So it doesn't have restriction. So just find a common denominator, right? Nothing to factor here. So common denominator, and then you can start to multiply. Okay, so let you carry it out. Before here, okay, this one has a subtraction sign. So there's a little bit of difficult to, like, easy to make a mistake here. Okay, watch out for a subtraction sign here when you are simplifying. Okay, so let's see if you guys can get the right answer at the end. So raise your hand when you have found the answer, okay? But let me know anytime if you are stuck. I'll put a CD on the side. Okay, Nathan, what's the common denominator for this one?
I got 6.
Yeah, this one is 6. Okay, so everything needs to times it by 6. Okay, so you multiply slowly. You have 4 fractions to multiply, or 4 terms to multiply. Okay, I'll let you guys try it out. Okay, we got 2 people finished. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 5 people now.
Wait, Jason,
Yeah.
when we multiply in the 6,
Mm-hmm.
would it be negative 6x minus, I mean, negative 3x minus 6? Or would
Yeah.
it be,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, because of the minus sign, so it will be -3 that goes in. Okay, that's the tricky part. So you need to consider the x plus 2 as if there's an invisible brackets there. Okay, let's check, get some of your answers, okay? Aaron, what do you have?
12.
12, okay. Brennan, how about you?
We got the same thing.
Same thing. Sarah,
I got the same thing.
same thing, okay. Anyone got different? Yoshir, how are you doing? Still working?
Are we supposed to only do C?
Oh, just do C, yeah.
I got 12 too.
Okay, okay. All right, so let's quickly go over that, okay? So this one, if you times it by 6, the first one will be 6x. I'm going to do it a little bit slower, okay? 6, when you multiply with the second fraction, you cancel out with the 2. So you're left with a 3. And then the 3 is going to multiply into the brackets. And then the third fraction, you will be left with a 2. And then the last one, it doesn't cancel anything. Okay, so you get something like that after you multiply in. And then now if you expand, it's the -3 that goes in. Okay, and then move everything to the left side. So that will give you x equal to 12. Okay, that's correct. Okay, so now let's take a look at something that has variable. Okay, so let's do one more before the break. So this is similar to question A. Okay, I hope you can see one of the denominator needs to be factored. Okay, so you need to do a couple steps. First, you factor, and then you get a CD. Okay, and then you start to multiply. All right, so I'll let you try this. When you finish D, you can raise your hand. Well, pretty quick this time. Okay, we already have 4 people found the answer. Okay, the part that you can factor is the 2b minus 4, right? So you can take GCF out. Okay, Nathan, what's the common denominator for this one? Have you found it?
2, then brackets b take away 2.
Yeah, very good. 2 bracket b take away 2. So we're gonna take this, multiply both sides. Okay, please raise your hand when you have finished. This one doesn't have quadratic, okay? So it should be pretty easy. Okay, Eric, what's your final answer?
I have b equals 7/2.
7/2, okay. Anyone has different answer?
I have b equals to 4.
Okay, b equal to 4. Brennan, how about you?
I got b equals 3.
B equal to 3. Anyone has b equal to 2? Okay, Aaron, what's your answer?
7/2.
7/2, okay. Colin?
7/2.
Okay, sounds like 7/2. Okay, let's find out why. Okay, where the mistake happens. So we'll do one by one. Right, we'll multiply with the first fraction. So everything cancels out, right? Because numerator, denominator are the same. So you should just left with 3. Okay, when you multiply with the second one, b minus cancel out. Right, b minus 2 will cancel out. So you're left with 3 times 2. Does anyone have questions so far? Okay, when you multiply with the right side, there's no denominator to cancel, right? So you should keep everything. So 3 times 2 times b minus 2. So after you get rid of denominator, your line should look like that. Okay, so Nathan, did you see any mistake on your?
Yeah, I found a mistake.
Okay. Right, and then, so after this, just simplifying, right? So you get 3 plus 6, that's 9 here. This one is 3 things multiplying, okay? So we can do 3 times 2 first, that's 6. And then 6 goes in. So 6b minus 12, okay? And then you move it, okay? That will that give you 7/2? Right, and then move that over, then that will be 20. Wait, that will be what? 21. Yeah, 21 equals 6b. Okay, and then divide both sides by 6. 21/6 equals to b. So that can be simplified. Okay, very good. So it should be this one. Okay, so let's have a break first. Oh, hold on. We forgot something. What did we forget? Brendan, what did we forget? Yeah, restrictions, yes. Okay, so restriction should be b cannot be 2. Okay, so this is something easy to forget. And then b cannot be 2, but we get 7/2, so it's okay, right? Okay to keep the answer. So make sure you check your denominator and restrictions. Okay, so far we haven't got anything that has restriction the same, right? So I'm sure later, okay, I'm not sure which one. We'll see, okay? So let's have a break first, and I'll see you guys at 11:20, okay?